Our story begins in a fantasy world. A boy hides from a group of hungry goblins. Unfortunately, he gets careless, makes a noise, and the goblins realize he's there. They immediately start chasing him. However, this was all part of the boy's plan, as he leads them into a trap. After getting rid of them, he reveals that he is traveling in another world. Let's rewind a couple of days before the boy was transported. As usual, he was alone in his classroom, reading, admitting that even in his old life, it had always been this way. It was by his own choice, as he preferred reading over getting distracted. In his class, there were different groups: the delinquents, the popular girls, the athletes, the clueless, and of course, the otakus. There were also the neat girls, the class representatives, and a few stragglers, but beyond all of them was our protagonist, someone who didn't belong to any group. Suddenly, everything started. A glow lit up all the kids. The protagonist saw the magic circle and got excited because it reminded him of his light novels. However, he soon realized that traveling to an isekai would be a hassle, so he decided to stick with his books and leave the classroom, wondering why no one else had done the same. Unfortunately, the door was sealed. He did everything he could to open it, but failed, trying again and again. Eventually, the inevitable happened. The kids started disappearing. Seeing the situation, the only escape he had was the ceiling, so he opened the vent, but it wasn't enough. The magic circle chased him and took him away. The boy found himself in a mythical white room. He began searching for the manager, the king, or the princess, but instead found an old man. The old man rushed towards him and explained that everyone else had already left, and that he needed to prepare to go too. It turned out that the old man was a god. Realizing that there was no one else left, the boy chuckled a bit, as even the omniscient couldn't foresee his escape route. The old man, a little hysterical, hurried him to prepare. The boy needed to set his stats. Normally, everyone has 50 points to distribute among various skills, but since it was the first time the old man had gathered so many people, there were only 43 in total. The best skills had already been handed out on a first-come, first-served basis, and what was left was rubbish. Still, better than nothing, the boy thought, and decided to take a look. The remaining skills were a complete mess, like having nothing at all. Annoyed, he asked the old man if he was joking because with those skills, he would never make it to the first city. The old man, tired of his complaints, gave him all the remaining skills, and so the boy automatically absorbed all the junk skills. His adventure in this new world began in nightmare mode. Once in the new world, he wondered what the hell he would do. Soon, he found his villager gear, which included an amazing bag that could hold infinite items. Not so bad for now. The boy decided to change his clothes and was now in style. Then he checked his stats. He rolled some dice and MM appeared, which turned out to be masochism points. His interface asked where he wanted to assign them, and the boy decided to put them into luck, betting it all on luck. In the end, his stats were calculated, and his luck was maxed out, but everything else was still trash. However, there was something extra, a skill granted only to loners. This skill allowed him to subjugate others, which wasn't so bad, but he understood that his adventure in this isekai would be solitary. Goodbye to his fantasy of having a harem. Soon, something felt off. He remembered being absorbed along with his classmates, but he couldn't see anyone. He didn't pay much attention to it since he couldn't form a party anyway. His priority would be to find a safe place, so he set off. After that, he would look for food, and over time, build a new home. The boy moved through the dark forest, seeing nothing and feeling a bit scared, wondering if he could face any monsters. Then he remembered that he had contact lenses, put them on, and suddenly, he could see hidden objects. Those contact lenses granted him the detection ability. Thanks to this new skill, he discovered a bunch of things, the most important being some edible mushrooms. Knowing that his bag was infinite, he stored everything he wanted. Cheerful and content, he continued exploring until he found a river. After hydrating, he headed to a cave. He advanced cautiously, hoping it wasn't the home of some monster. Upon entering, he really liked the place. Knowing he had a camping set in his bag, he decided to settle in. With a bit of his temperature magic, he managed to light a campfire and thought that, in the end, his skills weren't so bad. Suddenly, he began to feel sleepy, but before going to sleep, he wanted to check his stats. When he opened his interface, he realized that several of his skills had leveled up. He could now cast fireballs, had clairvoyance, perception, and enemy detection. Finally, he couldn't keep his eyes open and fell asleep. The next morning, the boy woke up very happy because he was still alive, and his items had additional monster repellent, all thanks to his shut-in title. He used his infinite bag took out a frying pan, knife, and meat, mixed the ingredients, and got ready to have breakfast. As he did so, he thought that this Aldean starter set was completely subtle. He wondered who this Aldean was, but he didn't dwell on it and decided to leave the cave. His goal was to look for more food, while also working on his safety. Suddenly, his detection activated. There were monsters lurking nearby, goblins. Although they should be easy prey, the boy noticed with his appraisal skill that they had very high stats, at least for him. He knew he would have to fight at some point, and what better time than now? Although his only weapon was a stick, he tried to make a small combo and managed to imbue it with magic. With this new power, he charged into battle. The fight was tough and frantic. However, he quickly learned to deal with the goblins' movements and was able to get rid of them. He survived his first battle. It wasn't perfect, but it was fine, and he felt happy to be alive. Upon returning to his cave, he decided to take one of the goblins' clubs, although for now he preferred to stick with his stick. When he checked his stats, he realized he had leveled up to level 2, and he was very happy about it. By the next day, he was sick of mushrooms and wanted meat. However, his mind conjured up the image of a girl, the class representative, and he was sure she would scold him for complaining about food. So he decided to eat everything and get to work on his defense, using his new skill, magical rapping, which enhanced all his physical and magical abilities. It was his best skill so far. He noticed that his appraisal skill had also leveled up, but for now he didn't know what it exactly did. A question mark just appeared over some things. He would figure it out later. He decided to go out and have some fun. The first thing he found was more mushrooms, but since he was tired of them, he desperately began searching for meat. He focused, remembering that the intention was to practice his magic. He used his magical rapping and ran out, feeling very light and fast. Confident in his new abilities, he decided to attack another group of goblins. This time, he defeated them effortlessly and felt so confident that he thought he could take on 3 at once. Just then, his wish came true. He quickly regretted it and hid. For now, he would let the goblins go and return to his cave to practice magic. From that moment on, he hunted goblins in the mornings and practiced magic at night. By the 5th day, he could defeat goblins with a single blow and had even decorated his base. He thought he had gotten the hang of this game, and all that was left was to keep up the pace. One night, he found what he had been looking for, delicious meat. He pounced on a rabbit and caught it, but while celebrating, he detected other characters. This time, they weren't goblins, but a group of delinquents. He didn't intend to even greet them, but he thought he might find someone else. He decided to use clairvoyance and discovered a group of boys ahead, the athletes and the geeks. He remembered having talked to the geeks a few times, but he didn't want to run into them either. He turned again and found the representatives group. That group interested him, as he knew the world he was in was ruthless, and the best way to survive was to stick together. Plus, he knew the representatives since elementary school. He thought for a moment that maybe he should approach them, but soon dismissed the idea, enjoying the freedom of being alone and having no one telling him what to do. He couldn't think of a better life than this, so he decided that from now on, he would dominate the world on his own. If you've reached this point in the video, don't forget to leave the word exquisito in the comments. Thank you very much, and see you in the next video.